Hey, do you know why so many developers use React? Well, it is a very reliable framework and also a super fast one. Now, if your React app is getting slower and slower even without change in data, then you might be using some super slow function inside one of your component. And whenever that component re-renders, that function is also called again and again, hence making your React app very slow. Now to prevent this, we use useMemo. So useMemo is a React hook that lets us catch the result of some calculations between re-renders. So let me just use an example to explain useMemo, and for that, let's just hop into our code editor for now. So as you can see here, we are inside my code editor, and here I've already imported useMemo from React. So let me just call useMemo. And one more thing, useMemo actually returns a value, so we can just store it inside a variable. And let me just call that variable as result and call useMemo. So useMemo and useEffect are quite similar. Now, if you don't know what useEffect, you can just watch my video over here. And coming back to useMemo, the similarity between useEffect and useMemo is that they both are similar type of parameters, a function and a dependency array. Now, inside this function, let me just return 4. And now since this function is not dependent upon any variable, I can just keep this dependency array empty or just remove it. Now in case of useEffect, if you were to keep this dependency array empty, this function would have run only when the component would mount. But here's that's not the case. I can just remove it or let it be, but I will remove it. So this is just a useMemo hook. So let me just create an example and then I'll explain its use case over there. So this is the React app that I've built. And as you can see, this is the slow function that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. This function is actually just mimicking to be a slow function by using this for loop, by iterating from this small value till this very big value. And after this for loop is completed, this function actually returns this value, which gets rendered over here. And this component has some states. So this value is actually a state of this component, which can be changed by clicking any of these buttons. So if I'll click 5, this value will get changed by 5. Also, the state will also get changed. And one more thing, we can change the theme of this component from light to dark by clicking these buttons. Now, if you can see here, I have already called this slow function, and if I change the state of this component, this slow function will be called. So let me just change this value state by clicking these buttons. Now as you can see, this took maybe a few milliseconds to render this value. Let me just do the same with 2 also. See, it took some time, maybe a second or half. So now what do you think will happen if I change this theme of this component from light to dark? Will it happen in an instant or will it take some time, just like these values? So let's just try it. Click. So as you saw, that changing the theme also took some time, right? So this phenomenon is actually undesirable. I don't want anyone to wait for some time to get their theme changed even after they have clicked this theme changing button a few seconds back. So to fix this, we will use useMemo. Now let me just copy this thing. Use useMemo, call the function and return the value of slow function. Now as you can see, this value is actually a variable. So if this value gets changed, the return value of this function which useMemo has is also getting changed. So I have to put this value variable inside this dependency array, because this function is actually dependent upon this value. Now let me just save it and reload this page. Now if I'll click on this one, see, this took some time. It is okay. I don't want people to wait for changing the theme. Now if I'll click this dark, this theme should change instantly to dark. See, this theme got changed instantly. Now if I do the same with like maybe change value from 1 to 3, this took some time to render this. And if I change back to light, it will happen in an instant. See? So this was one of the use cases of useMemo. There is one more use case and I will just explain it right after this cut. So the second use case of useMemo is actually storing the reference of some object or an array. Now if you're not familiar with reference versus value of an object. Let me just show you here. Let me just remove these things. Now, as you can see here, we have this theme style object used for styling this theme of this component. Now, let me just make a copy of it and rename it as theme style 2. Right now, you can see that these both objects have same values, right? Inside them, they have same properties. What do you think will happen if I just try to compare these objects, like by doing this? Theme style equal to theme style 2. We rewrote this thing. Now, what do you think will actually be the result inside this console? Will it be false or will it be true? Well, it is false. Now, this is happening because in JavaScript, whenever an object is created, it gets allocated a memory inside this RAM. So even if these objects have same properties, these objects are still not equal to each other. It is because they are allocated to different memories, hence they are not equal to each other. Now let me just show you one more thing using a useEffect hook. Let me just go to useEffect and remove this. Now let me just call useEffect and let me just console log theme style changed, and I want this console to be like printed inside the console whenever theme style is getting changed, like whenever this value gets changed, because this theme style object is changed only when this theme variable actually gets changed, right? So let me just put theme style inside this dependency array. So now let me just reload this thing, and now if I check console, I can see initially this is printed, so let me just remove it. Now if I change from light to dark, see this theme style is getting printed, this thing is getting printed. Now what do you think will happen if I click on these buttons? They are also changing the state of the component, right? So if I click on this, see this actually got printed, which was not supposed to happen. Now to fix this, we can use useMemo. But let me just tell you what is happening. So whenever this component is getting re-rendered, this theme style object is getting allocated a new memory, hence making a new object, which is not desirable. Why? Because it is consuming some memory inside my system and I don't want that. So to prevent it, we can use useMemo here also. And if you can see here, this function is actually dependent upon this value, because this object is getting changed whenever this theme value gets changed. It is a variable, right? So here also I'll put this theme variable inside the dependency array. Now you can see this is here and this is also done. So let me just reload this page and open up the console. So now if I change from light to dark, theme style changed is getting printed, which is okay, right? Now if I change this value from 0 to 1, this thing should not be printed. That's why I used useMemo over here. So if I click 1, see theme style change did not get printed. Let me just remove it and show you again. Click on 2, click on 3, see nothing is getting printed. And whenever I'm changing a theme, only that time this theme style changed is getting printed. So this was it. These were the use cases of useMemo hook in React. And if you didn't understand useMemo because of the other hooks I've used, useState and useEffect, you can watch my video over here.